The Appalachian Trail is a 2,189-mile trail that goes from the top of Springer Mountain, Georgia to Katahdin, Maine. You hike through the Smoky Mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains, White Mountains up in New Hampshire. They're all part of the Appalachian Trail. So in 2015, my dad called me and asked me if I wanted to hike the trail with him. And so I was like, sure, why not? Having no idea what I was getting myself into. Like in my head, I was thinking like a leisurely stroll across mountaintops. Yeah, that was not the case. And if you know our family is not an athletic family. Honestly, we were never even into hiking. But it was something my dad was like, hey, this would be a really fun adventure to do.
Okay, well, I think I had 3 reasons why I wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail with our family. And I'd say the first reason is that I wanted our kids to be more rugged.
Think about it this way, Kevin.
This is not normal behavior.
No one's ever eaten with that stick before.
That's true.
And she doesn't have to wash it afterwards. There's a lot of pluses about that stick.
I'm not sure if Bandit peed on it.
Forget Bandit, I'm talking moose.
There's so many fragile people in the world where you're on the Appalachian Trail, you're able to differentiate between your needs and your wants. And your needs are what keep you alive. When you get what you want on the Appalachian Trail, it's a luxury. And then secondly, I would say that it gives you a sense of accomplishment when you can walk from one end of the country to the other end, through the mountains, through rain and mud and hardship, and make it to the other side successfully. You feel like you could accomplish almost anything. Then I'd say third, I wanted happy family memories so that our family could remember good times together and just see the beauty of the woods and the trail. The Appalachian Trail is a beautiful place that we created good memories and that'll last a lifetime that we continue to talk about today.
So the Appalachian Trail is kind of like a highway where most everyone's going the same direction, and you kind of know the people around you in your little bubble. You kind of all end up in the same trail towns at the same time. Our first night on the trail on March 29th was so cold. We started on Springer Mountain and it got down to 11 degrees that night. Our water bottles were frozen and we didn't have water for the first 5 miles of the trail while it thawed.
So as a 10-year-old, a lot of people thought I didn't carry my stuff, but the only thing I didn't carry was our pots and pans and our tarp. I carried everything else, like our clothes, my sleeping bag, hammock,
When you say
water.
clothes, you mean like an extra shirt and extra shorts.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And a rain jacket.
Yeah.
So what are we doing?
Making a quesadilla.
Quesadilla? Kevin's eating his chicken before he puts it on the tortilla.
I'm hungry.
So here we are. That's the first quesadilla. That's Ron's.
He's got bacon and taco flavored cheese and chicken. Rotate.
Feel it.
Sesame
Yeah.
liver.
So your hiking routine is pretty much you wake up at 6, I think is what we normally woke up at, and Dad would come bang on our tarp, like, okay, wake up. So you drag yourself out of your hammock, put your shoes on, tear everything down, pack up your backpack, and usually we didn't eat anything, we just start hiking. And if it was cold, maybe a mile down, then we'd take off our big jackets, put some stuff away, and then eat a bar. And then we would stop for lunch, wait for Mom and Dad to catch up. They'd catch up, we'd eat lunch, and hike till maybe 6 or 7, whenever the sun was kind of starting to go down. And then we'd set up camp at a shelter or in the middle of nowhere, and make dinner, and then go to bed before the sun went down.
My routine was a little different because I was 10. So Dad would wake me up, slide my shoes on my feet. I'd hop down, slowly walk over.
Like a chicken, because our downs,
No, our
sleeping
downs
bags,
would-
she'd have feathers all over her.
Yeah, because I don't know, I guess it had a hole in it. So I'd go sit down, start putting my shoes on. Dad would go take everything down, stuff everything in our backpacks, And then by the time he was done with that, then I was about done putting my shoes on. And then we'd start hiking, do the same thing, and then at night, he'd set it all up. It was great, because I didn't have to do anything.
It took her like 10 minutes to get her shoes on, and while Dad's tearing everything down around her.
Bruce told us to come up with reasons why we wanted to hike the trail, so that when we got discouraged or questioned why we were out there, then we could go back, look at our list, and know why we were doing this. Well, one of my reasons was I have an adventuresome husband who wanted to hike the trail. I wanted to go and be with him. Another reason was my kids wanted to hike the trail. I wanted to be with them as well. But the third reason was I mainly didn't want to be home by myself. I decided to hike the trail with them. And those were the reasons. The first couple of weeks on the trail were very hard. You first have to get your trail legs, which means you need to like strengthen those legs so that they're used to hiking. Well, being 55 when I started the trail, I didn't have trail legs. Usually for the young people, it'll take around 3 weeks or so. But for me, it took me 8 weeks to get the trail legs. I was not grumpy anymore, and I was strong, and I could carry my pack and move down the trail at a better speed than what I was doing.
Kim, her mom, was she was not as enthusiastic as the rest of us on hiking the Appalachian Trail, but she knew she didn't want to be home alone, and I kind of knew from prior trips that once she got started, she'd be enthusiastic about it. Sure enough, as time went on, she enjoyed it more and more, and she probably lost more weight than any of us. I lost 50 pounds, and you eat and eat and eat, and you have Snickers for breakfast, and you still lose calories because you just can't carry enough in your backpack to compensate for the calories that you burn in your body.
If you have cold water, you fill it up halfway.
Smart
your
water
bottle.
which is about that big.
Yeah, fill it up halfway with cold water. Put 3 packets of hot chocolate in there. Shake it up really good. It tastes like chocolate milk.
It does. We learned that in the Smokies.
And we also learned that if you eat a Snickers upside down, it tastes different.
Yeah, it's
True
like
story.
everything is flipped.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, you
Sort
should
of.
try it.
So on the trail, everyone gets given a name that's not, their original birth name. And so I think the reason for that is a lot of people, they're out there on the trail to kind of get new perspective, and a lot of times they're starting life over. They've had a midlife crisis and they've said, I've always wanted to do this, I'm gonna go out and do it. And so it's kind of like a new beginning for a lot of people, and so people go by different names. And those names are given to them in the first couple weeks on the trail by other hikers around them. And so for me, it happened whenever we were in the Smokies, and I was in my hammock and I had my sleeping bag, and I knew that this evening it was gonna get really cold, and 15 degrees cold. And my sleeping bag was only rated for 32 degrees. And so I decided that I really had to make sure I wasn't gonna freeze that night. So what I ended up doing is I ended up laying in my hammock, and I grabbed my backpack, and I grabbed all of my extra clothing. I got my jacket on, I put as much clothing I was comfortable wearing, and I brought my extra, t-shirts, underwear, shorts that were dirty. I just got them all, and I threw them on top of me, okay? I was desperate. And then I put the sleeping bag over everything. I thought more insulation. And then I had a trash bag, a giant black contractor trash bag in my backpack, and just to keep everything dry inside of it. And so I decided that I would go and I would get everything, and I would just hop inside of the trash bag. I figured another layer to keep the cold out, heat in. This would be great. But what I didn't realize is that would be a moisture barrier. And so my body putting off, sweat or humidity, it would escape and it would get trapped on the bag, the trash bag, and then it dripped all over my clothes, my sleeping bag, myself, and then it froze. My sleeping bag was all crunchy. I had icicles hanging off my sleeping bag, and not only was it cold, now everything was wet. And the hikers that were with us that night called me Ice King because I had icicles hanging off my sleeping bag. So I am the Ice King.
So in shelters, there are 3 walls There's one side that's just open.
There's like this wood platform.
Yeah.
And everyone just lines right up.
Lines up.
Like sardines.
Yes.
This was the Smokies, right? So you had to sleep in the shelter unless there was like no room at all.
Yeah. So there was Mom, and then there's this other guy right beside me, Turtle. That we didn't know him very well. So I was gonna try to keep close to Mom so we wouldn't squish him because I was pretty squished. So I was like really, really close to her. And then like, I guess somehow, I'm not sure what happened, but I thought he was Mom. So I was like really close to him, trying not to squish who I thought was him, but was actually Mom. I was like really close, curled up next to him. And then I felt the sleeping pad and I was like a third on the sleeping bag too. So I was pretty close. And then I realized that I was curled up to Turtle and not Mom. And so I went like scooted around and went to Mom.
Every week we would take a 0 day, which meant we wouldn't hike any that day. We would come in like one night and then stay a full day and then hike out the next morning. This gave us time to like wash our clothes, take showers, eat good food, sleep in a real bed, dry out things from the rain because it seemed like it rained every week.
Hey, one of the dangers that people are worried about are the bears. And so you knew that the bears were after your food bag. Everybody had a nylon food bag. It was a hassle tying them up on a limb and raising the bag up. And we did that at first and we kind of got tired of it. And so after a while we ended up going maybe 100 feet away from where we were camped and put our bag high up on a limb. And we knew if the bear was going to get it, they could have it. And we'd have to replace it at the next grocery store. We never had a problem with the bears stealing our food. They never found our food bag. But people would still hang them from high in the tree. We just got to where we didn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Flat as a penny. No, more like the side of the penny with all the bumps. That was Virginia. It wasn't flat.
Yes, some southbounder told us it was. Never trust a southbounder. They would normally lie to you. It happened several times. One person, they were like, there's no water for the next 10 miles.
We're like,
So-
okay.
We're like,
So
okay.
we filled up all of our water bottles,
And
all of our
extra
camelbacks.
5 pounds of water. We go like
Maybe a
0.2,
mile?
and then there's a stream. Like
And then, like,
every mile,
every
there's
mile.
a stream.
We're getting all this water.
But I'd say the more scary thing on the trail, it wasn't the bears, it was the rattlesnakes. Because the bears, they would hear you and they'd run, but the rattlesnakes, they would coil up. As soon as the first person walked by, they'd coil up, ready to strike. And then the second person, walks by and they're the ones that are gonna get bit. And so we had a couple instances where one of us walked past a rattlesnake, not seeing it, and then they hear the rattle, and the second person had to stop, and they had to wait for the rattlesnake to move, had to walk way around it in order to get by.
No. On summer solstice on the trail, then it's called Hike Naked Day, and so it's pretty self-explanatory. Everyone hikes naked on this one day. And we didn't want to hike naked, and we didn't want to be
out
anybody
there with
else.
everyone.
And so
And we were in like a park too. Where was it? It was like the Shenandoahs.
Yeah.
I think. It was like
We were
if you were
banned from
caught
Shenandoahs.
in the park not wearing any clothes, then you were like banned for life.
yeah.
Like all parks. And sunburn.
And it was on Father's Day too.
Yeah,
It
so
landed
a
on
bunch
Father's
of people
Day.
were out camping on Father's Day.
Let's go for a hike.
They didn't know what was gonna hit them.
Yeah.
So we were camping in like, it was like this campground, like an actual campground.
It was packed.
With like RVs, and we were just over there in our hammocks. We looked homeless.
After warming up in the bathroom heater.
It was
It was cold.
Yeah, it was like heated in the bathroom. We were like, this would be nice to sleep in. Like, it's warm in here. Like,
You
we
don't-
actually considered it.
And so they were on their way back, and I guess people thought we were homeless, and so they gave them a half a watermelon. And so they brought it back to us, and we had our sporks and we were like scooping it out. It was so funny.
They're like, oh, I'm sorry. Here's this watermelon. And we're thanks.
So the name of the game is kind of to see how far you can get on the trail before your body runs out of fat and your body starts to eat your muscle. That's just the way it is. For everyone, it's at different times. Like my mom, it probably took her 5 months before her body just ate all of her body fat. And at that point, you just continue to get weaker and weaker as like the time goes on. And that's when a lot of people have a lot more trouble continuing onward on the trail. So for us, to keep my mom on the trail, we ended up buying a van and we would slack pack. So we would drive the van up about 20 miles, and then half of us would hike south and half of us would hike north, and then we would have lunch in the middle and switch off keys, and then the other would continue and get the van and then bring it back down to the people who are hiking south, and then we'd go up 40 miles and then do the exact same thing over again the next day. I know a lot of people that are like, oh, that's not purist, you know, you didn't really hike the Appalachian Trail because you didn't carry your pack the whole way. But this was the only way we could keep my mom on the trail, which for us it was worth it because we wanted to still be together and we weren't going to leave her behind. So this was the way we ended up keeping my mom on the trail.
One time we had the van and Ron had bought this little speaker.
Ron's with the dog. He's got a dog.
Bandit. They hiked with us for a little while. A good while. And so he had like a speaker about this big.
Got it from Walmart, waterproof.
Yeah. And he downloaded a movie when we were in town. And so one night it was Rebecca, Hannah, Kevin, me, Elena, Ron, and Bandit. So 7 of us in the van. And we hook up the speaker on like the rear view mirror. And then we put his phone on like passenger seats and the console. Is that what it is? Console. Yeah. We put his phone right there. And 2 people sat here. 2 people sat in the 2 bucket seats. One person in the middle. We had an ice chest that we'd sit on. And then Ron in the back with Bandit. And all 7 of us watched this movie.
From his phone.
It was Brother Bear. We watched Brother Bear on his phone. 7 of us.
All in the car.
It was the best thing ever. We're like, this is amazing.
We're just like a theater.
Yeah, we're just like a theater. That was fun.
So in hindsight, I think the Appalachian Trail was a really good decision. It worked out well. No one was injured from it. Everyone grew, and they became more rugged, like I said earlier, and they're not fragile. And it strengthened us as a family. I'd say we have good memories of it. I would do it again, and I'm glad we did it.
Summer solstice, yeah.
Summer solstice. Practice that word.
Summer solstice. Yeah. Summer solstice.
Solstice.
Solstice. Summer solstice.
Hold on. Can you hear it now so I can say something stupid?